Beating your biggest rival with a 90th minute winner, coming back from a 4-2 deficit to a 4-all draw in the Champions League? This Juventus side doesn't know when to quit, and honestly, when you look at the 2026 squad, you start to realize this is not your normal Juventus team. This is a squad stacked with talent in every position. But how good is their squad? Well, let's talk about it. Last season for Juventus was honestly one of those where you just didn't know what to expect. At the start, they looked sharp, then suddenly dropped off, then somehow picked it up again. It was really on and off, and as a fan, it almost felt like you were watching two different Juve teams in the same season. The turning point, though, was when Igor Tudor came in, because without him, that season could have ended in disaster. He came in at the right time, steadied things, and managed to secure 4th place in Serie A. That alone saved them from the embarrassment of missing out on the Champions League, but let's not pretend it was smooth sailing. Under Thiago Motta, they had brutal moments. The Coppa Italia exit to Empoli in the quarter-finals. Yes, Empoli of all teams, was a real low point. Then losing the Supercoppa semi-final to Milan stung even more. But the biggest disappointment? The Champions League. After winning the first leg against PSV 2-1, everyone thought Juve would finish the job. Instead, they got completely shocked in the second leg, losing 3-1 and crashing out. That kind of collapse is the one that fans don't forget easily. So yeah, it was far from perfect, but credit to Tudor, he got them into the top 4 and gave them another shot at competing for major trophies. The thing is, even though they had that lifeline, you could still feel like this Juve team had so much potential that wasn't being unlocked. And Igor Tudor knew it too, which brings us to this season, because now things are looking very different. Juventus have started strong, winning their first 3 games and sitting second in the league. And in the Champions League, they've already pulled off incredible comebacks, like those 2 stoppage time goals to draw 4-all against Dortmund. And the truth is, all of this comes down to the squad Tudor has built. And it all starts with the goalkeeper. When you look at this Juventus squad, the first place you have to start is with the goalkeeper, Michele Di Gregorio. Since joining from Monza, he has completely transformed that position for Juve. He's not just a good shot stopper, he's someone who gives the backline real confidence. You can see it in the way the defenders play, knowing they've got him behind them. What makes Di Gregorio stand out is how good he is with the ball at his feet. Juventus now builds from the back in a way they simply couldn't before. He's calm under pressure, he doesn't panic when opponents press him, and he's able to pick out passes that break lines instead of just clearing the ball aimlessly. That alone changes how Juve can control games. And then, of course, there's his shot stopping. Last season, he pulled off some massive saves in tight games that ended up making the difference between Juventus dropping points and walking away with wins. He reads the game well, comes off his line when he has to, and he's the kind of keeper who can bail you out in those moments where everything looks lost. He's also at the perfect age to keep developing. At 22, he's entering his peak years. And with the way Tudor sets up his team, Di Gregorio has the platform to become one of the best keepers in Italy, if not Europe. He's reliable, he's consistent, and he's clearly improved since he put on a Juventus shirt. So when we talk about why this Juventus side feels so different, a big part of it starts right there in goal. Because when your goalkeeper is solid, it gives the rest of the team the freedom to play with more confidence. And speaking of confidence, the same can be said for the guys right in front of him. The new back 3 that has completely reshaped the way Juventus defend. But before we talk about that, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you. Now, right in front of Di Gregorio is where Juventus have probably made the biggest step forward. The new back 3 of Kalulu, Bremer and Lloyd Kelly has completely changed the way this team defends. Let's start with Kalulu. Coming in from Milan, he's added speed and composure to this backline. He's the type of defender who can step out from the back, win the ball early, and even carry it forward into midfield when needed. That mobility is something Juventus didn't really have before, and it's made them much harder to break down. Bremer, on the other hand, is the anchor. He's the one holding it all together in the middle, physically strong, dominant in the air, and always ready for a tackle. He's the classic centerpiece of a back 3. When you need someone to win those duels and keep things simple, Bremer does exactly that. And then you've got Lloyd Kelly, who came in from Newcastle. He brings balance on the left side. Strong, quick, and confident in one-on-one situations. He's the kind of defender who makes sure teams can't just target Juve's weaker side. What's impressive about Kelly is that it's not just physical, he's also very comfortable on the ball. That means Juve can build from both sides, not just one. Together, these three have given Juventus a defensive structure that feels modern and solid at the same time. They're not just sitting deep and clearing everything away. They're proactive, they step into challenges, and they're able to start attacks from the back. And it's not just the starters either. With Gatti and Rugani as backup options, Juventus finally has depth in defense. If injuries hit, the system doesn't collapse. Tudor can rotate and still keep the team stable at the back. This defensive foundation has been one of the biggest reasons Juve looked so much stronger this season. And once you've got a backline that's reliable, it opens the door for more flexibility in the roles just ahead of them, especially the wingbacks. One of the most interesting things about this Juventus side is how Igor Tudor uses his wingbacks. It's not always the same players, and that unpredictability is part of what makes this team difficult to play against. Take Weston McKennie, for example. He's naturally a central midfielder, but Tudor has used him as a wing-back on both the right and the left, and surprisingly, he's done really well in that role. What makes McKennie work here is his energy and his mentality. He's not afraid to run the entire flank, he can win duels defensively, and at the same time, he has the ability to push forward and support attacks. It's not easy for a midfielder to adjust to that role, but McKennie has shown he's got the characteristics to make it work. On the other side, things are more fluid. Sometimes it's Kalulu who shifts out wide, and other times it's Cambiaso who gets the nod. And the benefit of that rotation is that opponents can never be sure what kind of threat they're going to face. Kalulu offers more defensive solidity if Tudor wants to keep things tight, while Cambiaso brings more attacking intent with his pace and crossing ability. It gives Juve different options without changing the shape of the team. That kind of flexibility is exactly what you need in modern football. Instead of relying on one or two predictable players in those positions, Juventus can switch things up and adapt to the situation. And when you have wing-backs who can defend and attack and keep the balance, it gives your midfield the platform to really shine, which brings us to the heart of this team, the midfield. Now, if there's one part of the pitch where Juventus look absolutely stacked, it's the midfield. This is where you can really see how Igor Tudor wants his team to play. At the base of it all is Locatelli. He's the one sitting deep, controlling the tempo and making sure Juventus don't lose their shape. He's very good on the ball, calm under pressure, and knows when to switch play or keep things simple. Defensively, he breaks up attacks and gives the players ahead of him the freedom to push forward. Then you've got 10 Koopmeiners and Thuram in the central roles. And honestly, these two complement each other perfectly. Koopmeiners is all about vision and passing. He's the guy who spots runs, creates openings, and adds that bit of creativity from midfield. Thuram, on the other hand, brings power and athleticism. He covers ground, drives forward with the ball, and adds a physical edge that makes Juve very hard to outmuscle in the middle. Together, they balance each other out. One brings finesse, the other brings strength. What makes this midfield even more dangerous is that Tudor can easily change the setup. With these three, Juventus can play a 3-4-2-1 when they want more attacking options, or a 3-5-1-1 when they need more control. That tactical flexibility is only possible because each of these midfielders is reliable and can adapt to different roles. And it's not just about the starters. The depth here is really impressive. Cambiaso, who often plays with a wing-back, can slot into midfield as needed. Kostić is another option, direct, hard-working and dangerous with his deliveries. Miretti, who is currently injured, adds creativity and energy as a homegrown talent, while João Mário gives Tudor a steady, experienced option. And then there's Adžić, the 19-year-old attacking midfielder who's already being talked about as one of the most exciting young prospects in Europe. So when you look at it, this midfield has everything: control, creativity, power, and depth. It's the kind of midfield that can dominate games and give Juventus a real edge against anyone they face. And once you've got a midfield this strong, it sets the stage for the most exciting part of this team, the attack. On the left, you've got Kenan Yildiz, and this kid is quickly becoming one of the brightest young stars in Europe. He's confident on the ball, creative, and has the ability to make things happen out of nothing. Every time he gets it, you can feel the crowd lift because he plays with that spark you don't see very often. Juventus fans already see him as the next big thing, and he's proving it game by game. Backing him up, or even rotating in, is Openda. He's primarily a centre-forward, but his pace and dribbling makes him just as dangerous when he plays off the left. What makes Openda so valuable is his versatility. You can play him through the middle or wide, and he'll still stretch defenses and create chances. On the right, you've got Zhegrova. Last season, he managed 8 goals and 2 assists in just 21 games, and what stands out about him is his flair and unpredictability. He's tricky, he's direct, and he keeps defenders guessing. Then there's Francisco Conceição, another exciting winger who brings pace, energy, and one-on-one ability. Having 2 quality players for that right-hand side means Juventus can rotate without losing quality. And then comes the striker position, which might be the most stacked of them all. Dusan Vlahović is still the main man up front. Last season he scored 17 goals and added 5 assists. And while those aren't record-breaking numbers, they show consistency. He's physical, good in the air, and can hold up the ball to bring other players in. Then there's Jonathan David, who arrived after a huge season at Lille, where he scored 25 goals and provided 12 assists. He's quick, clinical, and makes intelligent runs behind defenses. He adds another dimension to the attack because of how mobile and sharp he is inside the box. And don't forget Arkadiusz Milik. Yes, he's recovering from a knee injury, but when he's fit, he's a proven goalscorer. He might not be the first choice anymore, but as a rotation option, he gives Juventus depth and experience that most teams don't have on their bench. So when you add it all up, Yildiz, Openda, Zhegrova, Conceição, Vlahović, David, and Milik, this attack has everything: youth, experience, pace, creativity, and goals. It's flexible, it's deep, and it's exactly what you need if you want to compete for every trophy. And when you put all the pieces together, from Gregorio in goal, to the back 3, to the midfield, and finally this attack, you start to see why people are saying this Juventus squad in 2026 is not normal. You've got players who can switch roles mid-game without the team losing balance. Openda can drift wide or move centrally. Yildiz can play as a creator or a direct winger. Zhegrova and Conceição can swap flanks, and even Vlahović and Jonathan David can give completely different looks up front. That kind of flexibility makes Juventus unpredictable. One moment they're stretching you with pace on the wings, the next they're pushing through the middle with power. It means opponents can't prepare for just one version of Juventus because Tudor always has another option in his pockets. And in a season where fine margins decide titles and trophies, having that ability to adapt in attack can be the difference between coming close and actually winning. This isn't the rigid Juventus of the past. This is a side that can attack in waves from different angles with different weapons. And that's why this 2026 squad feels like it's built for something special. But what do you think? Can this team win or challenge for the league or the Champions League? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.